Hello everybody, welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Oana.
So today's video is about selling your house in a declining market, or we'll just call it a buyer's market.
Or really in any market, because everybody needs help no matter what. But we understand that it's no longer a hot seller's market. So maybe sellers need to do a little bit more thinking and a little bit more work. So let's go.
Okay, so it's been kind of a hot market. And what we did is we wrote down, we actually spent quite a bit of time on this. We wrote down 7 different things. And some of these you've heard, but some of these you haven't heard. And whether you're a seller or you're an agent, you should know these. And if you're a buyer, if you think of buying, you should know these too. Because this may help you get, knowing this may help you get that house that you want.
Right.
Like you need to know what the enemy is thinking, right? I was in the Marine Corps, and in the Marine Corps, we always wanted to know what the enemy was thinking. Okay. So this is we're gonna go through these. So the first thing we're gonna talk about is price. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is what we wrote down: realistic pricing for today's market, not the market last spring or some other time. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the first thing we wrote down is use the most recent comparable and ignore the ones from 3 or 4 months ago. So let's talk about psychology here. Mm-hmm. People are very emotional. Mm-hmm. How difficult is it for a seller to look at what their next door neighbor got 3 or 4 months ago and then know that, them try to get that?
Right. So people feel like whatever fantasy number is out there, that is really what they need to get for the house. And that's not necessarily true. What you're going to get for the house is what a buyer is willing to pay for it and what you're willing to accept as a seller. Now, the market is changing, and it's changing rapidly. So just as it changed on the way up, it's changing on the way down. So you need to kind of pay attention to that. That means that you check the most recent comparable. So everything that has sold in the last 30 days, everything that's been on the market and hasn't had any activity, that's really important, because if you feel that your house is worth $1 million and there are homes on the market that are very similar to yours and they're priced at maybe $850 and they don't have any action, you're not getting $1 million because they're not getting $850. So maybe you need to price your home accordingly. Look at where homes are really selling. Look at the concessions. Look at homes that are getting offers. This is where your agent will come in very handy, because they'll reach out to other agents in the marketplace and say, hey, I've got a listing coming on the market. What's going on with yours? Let's work together on this. So that's something that I do frequently before I list the properties. I'll contact everybody in the area and say, hey, I've got something that's coming up in your neighborhood. I see you've got these properties listed. Let's talk about this. What kind of activity are you seeing? Have you gotten any offers? Because that helps me better coach my client and set more realistic expectations, saying, hey, I know you want $1 million. Everybody for $850 doesn't even have visitors. People at $825, those are getting some activity but not getting offers. So maybe we need to be priced at $800, because that's probably the sweet spot. Sure. So that makes more sense, because those people that are priced higher may end up with netting less in the end. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay, I saw a report that said, it was a NAR report, and it said 36% of all homes are still getting multiple offers. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about that. The house down the street sold for $450 a few months ago. Yours is probably now worth $425. Mm-hmm. If you list at $425 and you get one offer, they're probably going to feel like they want to beat you up along the way. Mm-hmm. They want to lowball. They want to maybe ask for a bunch of concessions and knock you down once they realize they're the only person making an offer. Mm-hmm. So what about the strategy of saying just putting it out there for $415 and trying to get multiple people?
So that is a really good strategy. That's one of the things that makes a lot more sense, because if you price your home aggressively, then number one, you're going to get more traffic. Mm-hmm. More traffic should logically mean more offers. And when you have more offers, then you have more choices as a seller between money, between terms, between all kinds of things that make sense to you, so that you can pick the best offer and you can negotiate, because now you have a couple different potential buyers to choose from. So now you're coming from a position of strength rather than desperation.
Okay, the next thing we wrote down is to be patient. Mm-hmm. Especially 2 things are happening. home sales are happening at a slower velocity than 6 months ago, but also it's this time of year. This happens all the time this time of year.
Right.
Even last year, it slowed down in the fall. So talk about psychology of just being patient and not getting desperate.
Right. So hopefully you gave yourself plenty of time when you listed the property, and you've got time on your side to wait this out. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't consider repositioning your property on the market if you're not priced where you need to be.
Right.
But it does mean that if you are priced correctly and you're priced competitively, if you haven't gotten an offer in the first 2 weeks, don't despair. Okay, it's going to take a little while. Look, if you haven't had any viewings in 2 weeks, then you should have a conversation with your agent. But if you just haven't had any offers, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Give it some more time and let's see how you do. The key to what's going on is making sure that you're priced sufficiently attractively in order to generate people coming to visit your property. We are no longer in a market where people are buying homes sight unseen. So if you're not getting visitors, nobody's probably looking at your property.
Okay, let's talk about the third thing we wrote down, staging. There's two different types of staging. One is you have this vacant house and you want to live in, so you bring in a professional stager, right? And then they come in and just stage the house. You pay for that. The other is what most people do. They just have their house that they're living in. Talk about the two different types and the benefits of each one.
Right. So professional staging, I think, is wonderful. And I think it's worth the money, depending on the price point of the house, obviously. But I think it is worth the money because they will help you. If the house is vacant, they'll go ahead and stage it with some furnishings to make it look attractive and roomy and homey. If you are living in the house, then a professional stager, again, will do some of the same things. What they'll usually do is remove things and have you put them in storage or get rid of them altogether to make the house more spacious. Things that you can do yourself as far as staging. Make sure you pack everything away, box everything away, make everything nice and neat and tidy. Push furniture against the wall. Get rid of furniture that maybe you don't really need, that clutters up the house. Anything that is clutter, get rid of it. What I remind people is make it look like a model home. So if it's a flat surface, nothing on it. Please don't have all of your appliances on the kitchen counter. You're not using them at the moment, so please put them away. Your toothbrush, your curling iron, all that good stuff, put it away. It should not be on the bathroom counter. That's what cabinets are for. So everything needs to be neat and tidy so people can look at the home and not look at your day-to-day living, right? Because the idea is that they see themselves in the home, not see you in the home. And then, of course, remember to remove anything that really associates the home with you and keeps people from focusing on the home. So that means things like religious items, family pictures, anything personal like that. Please put them away. Remember, you're selling the house, you're moving, so you may as well pack those things away.
We actually did a whole video on the things you should not have that would either offend somebody or distract from the house. We have a whole video on that you'll have to go search for it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about repairs. Now, there's two types of houses. House number one is you walk in. The last time anything was done, it was 1980. It clearly is going to be purchased by somebody who's going to have to fully rehab it. So we're going to set that one aside. What we're talking about is your house is pretty good. You could almost move into it, but there's a few things that you need to deal with, or that maybe make the buyer think you don't take good care of the house. Because once they believe you don't take care of the house, it's downhill. So let's say you've got a couple places you could do some touch-up painting. Maybe you've got one toilet that runs, so you want to fix that. Maybe you have a door that doesn't have a doorknob on it, or some couple minor things like that. Like, let's talk about those things and why it's important from experience. Because, between you and I, we've done over 3,000 of these. Right? And actually, I think we passed 3,000 about 2012, 2013. So we stopped counting. So it's well over 3,000.
Okay.
So knowing like you've done this as much and you've talked to the agent on the other side, how important is, we're not talking about fully rehabbing your house. We're talking about those obvious things that need to get so that the buyer doesn't go, oh, look at that one terrible thing.
Right. So the first thing you're going to do is the cleanup. So that means you clean your grout, you clean your baseboards, just cleaning. Yep. The second thing is take care of any things that you know are broken. So you know that toilet runs, to Todd's point, so replace the flapper. Flappers are inexpensive. Replace all of them, okay? It's not a big deal. Replace the air filters, really super important. Make sure you have clean air filters, because when that buyer looks up at the ceiling and sees that those air filters are dirty, or that the grates that face the floor that are on this side are dusty or have dust bunnies on them or whatever, make sure all those are clean so that your home looks well maintained. The home inspector will also check that air filter, so make sure that it's clean. If you have dripping faucets, get those fixed. Any minor thing that is wrong, because you live in the house, so you know that it's wrong. If you have burnt out light bulbs, replace them. Anything minor that doesn't work, fix it or replace it. Clean your carpets. If you clean the carpet and it still doesn't look so hot, consider throwing down an area rug. They're fashionable. That might be a good way to go. If it's just a single room that has carpet that has seen better days, consider replacing the carpet just in that single room. Now, I'm not suggesting that you recarpet the whole house. If you can attend to just a single room that happens to be particularly bad, great. If it needs for the whole house, consider offering a credit for flooring.
Let's talk about a lot of people. So another NAR statistic, 50% of all people, the first agent that they talk to, they hire to sell their house is a listing. Mm-hmm. All real estate agents don't specialize in one thing. Some do kind of a little bit of everything. Maybe the agent they bought the house from, they haven't done many listings, they don't really understand that much. They're sort of just, how important is it that you get a good feeling about the person that is going to be negotiating this for you? Because there's nuances on the listing side that you don't have on the buyer side. Right. That's because we don't work with buyers. We basically just do listings.
Right. So it is important that the agent that you hire has experience. And in this market, it's actually kind of hard to find somebody that has the right kind of experience. And what I mean by that is that probably 90% of the agents out there have never done business in a market with 7% interest rates.
And declining.
And declining.
And declining value, potentially declining values. Yes. Certainly not what we had last spring.
Right. So they've never done business in this environment. So it is important that you understand that. It's important that you ask those questions and that you have a good sense of how this person is going to deal with this market. And that's not disparaging to any agents. It is just fact, right? It's not the same thing as a market where you put a house on the MLS and it sells instantly. This is a market where agents have to be creative, they have to be knowledgeable. So it's important that the agent that you hire understands that and understands different ways to attract buyers and to encourage offers in this market.
Okay, let's talk about another one. There's two types of people that are selling. Mm-hmm. One is have to sell now. Mm-hmm. Something's come up, it's just time, they're selling, right? And the second is they're trying to figure out when to sell, but they maybe have a longer time frame. Mm-hmm. Look, I have to be out in 8 months, so should we wait until March? Will it pick up in March? So let's talk about the deciding between, because we suspect in March there'll be less homes on the market than now. In Vegas, it's already dropped by 700 homes in the last month, less on the market than we had a month ago. So if we get to a more competitive market where the homes are on the market for a shorter period of time versus waiting and having your house on the market. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about those trade-offs.
So, those are definitely trade-offs to consider. So right now there are less sellers on the market. There are also less buyers looking. So, it's kind of a little bit of a balance there because it's the holidays. In the spring, you're going to have more buyers coming back on the market. You may have more sellers coming back on the market. You may have shorter market times. We'll see what that looks like. Of course, the big unknown is the interest rates. Our sentiment is that the interest rates are not going to move up substantially between now and the spring, if they move up at all. But we'll see. my sentiment is that once you decide to sell your house and you've got your house in order, then you may as well get on with it. Because the more cushion of time you have, the less desperate you become, right? And the more comfortable you feel because time is on your side. So my general sense is, when you're ready to sell your house and you've got it in order, put it on the market.
Okay. And that is something we have done with our personal investment properties and flips over the years. Mm-hmm. That the best time to sell a flip is the second you get it rehab, no matter what. Like if you buy a flip in September and you fix it up mid-October, like you put it on the market, you don't wait, right? And I want to just mention one thing you said. When you said less sellers, just for all of you out there, keep this in mind. While the inventory is higher, there's actually less sales each month. Mm-hmm. So the inventory will be less in April, but that's because houses are coming on the market and going off quicker. So you'll have maybe half as many homes on the market, but 3 times as many sales in a month, for example. Mm-hmm. So the houses appear to be less, but they're just turning quicker because you have more activity. Right. So that's kind of a tricky, because we never talk about that. We usually talk about how many houses are on the market inventory, but not really how many sales are happening each month. But the hot months are always basically for closings or April, May, June, July. But remember, those went under contract a month prior. Mm-hmm. Okay. The last thing, this is an important one, especially in this market. There's 2 types of incentives we can offer. One is an incentive to the buyer's loan program, right? And the other one is in a commission to the agent incentive. Let's talk about those. So
you can offer an incentive to the buyer. So the incentive to the buyer could be something like an appliance package, maybe a flooring allowance, maybe paying some points so they can get a better interest rate, maybe paying their closing costs. So some sort of financial incentive to the buyer in that way. The other side of it is you can offer an incentive to the agent. So that means that maybe if everybody else out there is paying 2 bananas, maybe you're going to offer 2 bananas and an orange or whatever. So the idea is that you're offering a little bit more money than the guy next door, so that agent's going to be more incentivized to show your house before he shows some other house, and is going to work a little bit harder maybe to get that offer worked out for everybody's benefit and to get your house under contract.
And if you ever want to know how much commission your agent is going to be paid on every single house you see, the simplest thing to do is ask them. Mm-hmm. They have to disclose it. So if you used to say, hey, when we're seeing all the houses or whatever, can you tell me like what they're offering you in commission? Mm-hmm. Whether or not you have a buyer-broker agreement, because you may have an agreement with them that says, look, I'll make sure you get paid X bananas no matter which house. So just show me all the houses. And then later on, if they're not offering enough, we can figure that out. But I don't want to miss any houses just because they're being, cheap or they're not offering enough bananas. There was this thing that new home builders used to do where what they would do is they would literally throw in like furnishings and all kinds of stuff as an incentive on like the model homes. Right. And they obviously the model homes tend to sell for the most because they're the highest upgraded on the biggest lots. And they're usually in really good locations. Mm-hmm. But talk about those, like what other things can, another popular one was during the negotiating, if they say, hey, we want to close in 30 days, you say, hey, if you close this inside of 3 weeks, I'll give you a $1,000 extra credit to your closing. And then if it's a month, I'll give you $500, and anything after that is zero. So you put in like these tiered to sort of incentivize them to say, hey, if we can get this thing closed a week earlier, we get another $500,000. Right.
So the idea is that the faster you can get your house closed, the less time there is for something to go sideways and for the buyer to fall out. So that's why you want to incentivize people to close as quickly as possible. Maybe you need to stay in the house longer, and then you can discuss a rent back or something like that. But if your interest is to sell your house, then let's get your house sold. That's the number one priority.
Okay, all houses aren't the same. All seller situations aren't the same. All markets aren't the same. And then all submarkets within areas aren't the same.
Right.
If your house is a under $200,000 square foot condo that some investor is going to buy, that's a completely different animal than a house a mile away that's in a gated neighborhood. It's more of a, like a family home, a bigger house with more bedrooms. It's really nice. It's got a pool. They're two completely different products. They have completely different buyer pools. Mm-hmm. And, it's important that you just don't go in with a one size fits all, mm-hmm. right? Which is why it's important that your agent understands that and then has the right plan, and that you agree with the plan, or at least the agent could explain to you why this plan is, the right plan for you.
Absolutely. So definitely connect with a great agent. If you don't have one, we would be happy to connect you with a great agent. If you're interested in selling a home in Las Vegas, we'd be happy to help you. If you are interested in selling a home elsewhere, we have a network of fantastic agents that we can connect you with. So please give us the opportunity to help you. If you liked the video and you found it valuable, interesting, entertaining, and you'd like to see more of our videos, please like the video, share the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and thank you for watching the video. Leave us comments and tell us what's going on with you and in your real estate market, and please be kind to each other in the comments. We'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.